Hello, today in class we're going to learn the rules that we're going to apply when solving inequalities. I'm going to write these rules down in the form of a letter expression and then I'll show you examples. First rule, if we see the following inequality, if we compare the following expressions, if A is greater than B, and B in turn is greater than C, then I can say with certainty that A will be greater than C. How do we show this with an example? For example, the number 15 is greater than the number 8, and the number 8 is greater than the number 3. And I can say with certainty that the number 15 is greater than the number 3. It's obvious. By the way, if we show these numbers on a coordinate line, we can see that the number 3, the number 8, and the number 15 will be arranged on the coordinate line in this particular form. Why do we use a coordinate line? Because if you see the numbers on the coordinate line that are written as variables, and A is greater than B, then number A will be to the right of B. Now notice, we've written in the form of numbers. The number 15 is greater than 8, 15, 8. The number 15 is to the right, and 8 is greater than 3. It's also to the right. Then the number 15 is greater than the number 3. The number 15 is to the right of the number 3. You will apply this same rule if you see letters on a coordinate line. So A is greater than B, and B in turn is greater than C by our rule. Then the number A is greater than the number C, even if you don't know their numerical value. Next rule. If the number A is less than the number B, and B in turn is less than C, I'm sure you can tell at a glance that number A is less than number C. This is the inverse of rule number 1. The next rule we're going to apply when solving inequalities. If I have an inequality written down, I is greater than B. If I have some number C, that number is a constant, whatever it is, greater than 0 or less than 0, any number. If I add that number to the left-hand side, and I add the same number to the right side, the sign of the inequality doesn't change. If this number is negative, let's write down, here C is greater than 0. But if this number is less than 0, what happens in this case? Same rule. If I take away any number C from the left side and I take away the number C from the right side too, in this case the sign of the inequality will not change. Let's check this rule. If I write the following inequality as a numerical expression, 5 is greater than 3. Let's add the number 2 to the left and the number 2 to the right, plus 2. The result is 5 plus 2 and 3 plus 2. We know that 5 plus 2 is 7 and 3 plus 2 is 5. But the result is that 7 is greater than 5, so the sign of the inequality does not change. You can apply this same rule when you subtract the number 2, and in that case the sign will not change. But if I multiply the left side and the right side by some positive number C, and multiply the right side by a positive number C, C is greater than 0. Then in this case the sign of the inequality will not change either. Let's look at an example. The same example. 5 is greater than 3. we multiply the left and right parts by 2. 5 times 2 and 3 times 2. And obviously 10 is greater than 6. The sign of the inequality doesn't change. But if we multiply the left and right sides by a negative number, what is the resulting rule? Let's go through the example first. The same example. 5 is greater than 3. I'll multiply the left and right parts by a negative number, minus 2. What is the result? 5 times minus 2 and 3 times minus 2. 5 times minus 2 is minus 10 and 3 times minus 2 is minus 6. But minus 10 is less than minus 6. As a result, the sign of the inequality changes. Then we can move on to the rule. If I multiply A by the negative number C, and B is multiplied by the same negative number C, then the sign of the inequality is reversed. This is a very important rule that applies when solving inequalities. It's the same rule that applies when we multiply by a positive or negative number, or when we divide. Let's write down. If I divide number A and number B are divided by some number that is greater than 0, I divide by the number C and divide by the number C, then in this case the sign of the inequality will not change. But if I divide this inequality by the negative number C and the right and left sides, then the inequality will change sign. Remember the following rule. If you add the same positive or negative number to the left and right sides of an inequality, and the same positive or negative number, the sign of the inequality does not change. If you multiply or divide the left and right parts by the same positive number, the sign of the inequality does not change either. But once you multiply the left and right parts or divide by the same negative number, in this case the sign of the inequality changes. Let's note these rules for when the sign changes, negative number. In today's lesson, we learned some rules that apply when solving inequalities. We will solve the inequalities in the next lesson. And for today, our lesson has come to an end. Goodbye. See you again.